Hi there. I'm good. I'm good. It's worried that I was the only one for a moment. No, that's no worries. No, that's fine. I was just looking to kick it out anyway. Yeah, no worries. There's Chris.
Hi guys. Yeah, very well, thanks. Sorry about the last minute message, but I think we're okay.
Perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. This is Startup Product and Tech Q&A. I believe it's our 163rd session. We've been doing these now, oh boy, quite some time, over 4 years, where we seek to help founders like yourselves with whatever questions you may have in terms of that journey that you take when it comes to basically building your early stage product or tech. You see, unfortunately, over 90% of startups fail. And the top 3 reasons for that are 1, market fit, 2, running out of money, and 3, not having the right people. And guess what? That number 1 reason for failure couldn't be done in any way if you didn't sort out your product or tech. So, why we do this is to bring people who've been there and done it and got the t-shirt and done it right, and also done it wrong, so that they learn from those, to come and answer any questions you may have in terms of that early stage journey of building. The idea is quite simple. If you're here in the chat, all you have to do is type your question in the chat here on Microsoft Teams. We then give you the mic and you can ask our amazing tech and product panelists. If you are on the live streams instead, then what you'll have to do is join us here on Microsoft Teams. There's a few ways you can do that, but I guess the quickest would be 2. 1, to click on the links on all those live streams, whether you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. Or 2, simply go to our website, startuptoscaleup.club. You then find today's session, which is Startup Product and Tech Q&A 163. You click join. It's a quick registration. That gets you a link on to your email to join us here on Microsoft Teams. And by the way, it's audio only, which means you can join us from anywhere via any device or platform. And once you're here, then, like I said, you type your question in the chat, we give you the mic, and you ask our panelists. There are no wrong questions, and there's no need to be shy. It's a learning curve for us all. Your questions today can be on anything to do with product and tech. So whether you perhaps want some help with your product roadmap, or maybe design or prototype or testing, or perhaps some ideas in terms of your full tech stack, or perhaps you want to talk about automation or building your app or a website, or maybe launching your MVP, and anything in between or beyond for that matter, this is the place to do it. We're only going to be here now for the next 55 minutes. So my advice is don't leave it for last second, because we do run out of time often, and then we're unable to take people's questions. So the earlier you type your question in the chat here on Microsoft Teams, the better it is. If, however, your questions today are not on product and tech, please save them for the other conversations we run. On Mondays, it's talent. On Tuesdays, it's product and tech. On Wednesdays, it's growth. On Thursdays, it's fundraising. Second Friday of each month, it's UK startup law. And third Friday of each month, it's UK startup finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and they're all available on our website, startuptoscaleup.club, where you can basically just pick and choose whichever session you want to register on. You click join. Quick registration will then get you onto a it will get you a link basically to your email to register, and through that you can then join whichever link you want, whichever session, sorry, you want. As far as today's concerned, we're going to keep it quite simple. We're going to go through some quick introductions. Then we'll open it for questions from, then we'll ask the panelists, my bad. Then we'll ask the panelists for their do's and don'ts when it comes to early stage product and tech. And then we'll open it for questions, a Q&A from the founders in the conversation here. We're also going to share a link to our WhatsApp group, where you can get together and connect with other founders. Maybe you can ask some questions on product and tech. You can also check in with the panelists and the mentors we have, and all that jazz. So without further ado, my name's Anton Call. I'm an Albanian in London, working with startups normally right after they get investment. I embed within their teams and help them hire and keep the right people. I do some growth advisory work as well, and I help some angels and family offices with their due diligence and their assessments. If I'm not mistaken, I think we had Adam who joined first, then Chris, then Tal, then Mario. So we'll go in that order: Adam, Chris, Tal, and Mario. If you can introduce yourselves, please, gentlemen.
Thanks very much. And so, yeah, so my name is Adam Horner. I'm a CTO coach, and I have been working as a CTO for the last 13 years. I've been in industry since 1990 something, so over 30 years now. And in terms of where I've been helping early stage companies recently, obviously I'm coaching a bunch of CTOs at that early stage, but a lot of the times people come and ask me about the decisions that they need to make early on. And one of the things I always say is, well, what's the hardest decision you need to take? So that's often the place to start. Don't start with the easy stuff. Start with the hard decisions. That's me. Chris.
Thank you very much, Adam. Yes, hi everybody. Great to meet you all today. My name's Chris. I am a technologist and data science expert, so I should say. I have a machine learning PhD. I am a builder of things, software products and companies. My first business was a data analytics platform for the property market, which was acquired by Rightmove a few years ago. Currently, I do a bit of fractional CTO work to help out different companies, but I also spend most of my time running a voice AI startup called Foretell, which is a super interesting space. Yeah, so delighted to meet you all and answer your questions today. Over to Tal.
Thank you. I'm also been in the industry for over 20 years. Started with really big tech companies and decided to move to a smaller company, ScaleUp. and helped scale 3 companies and failed with 1, which I learned a lot. And yeah, over to the next one.
Hello, hi everyone. My name is Mario Tomic. I'm Croatian, living in Spain. I work as a fractional CTO for non-technical founders, helping them navigate technology, managing teams, doing right technology choices, and getting their products off the ground. Thanks, Anton, for bringing me here.
Thank you very much for that, fellas. Really appreciate your time today. I guess we can go into some do's and don'ts. If we can think of one do and one don't each, please, gentlemen. And if we can maybe not use the same logic for both, so use different logics for the do and the don't, that would be great. Perhaps since you went last, Mario, you can now start going first, so we can have Mario, Tal, Chris, and then Adam. One do and one don't. Maybe try and focus on something you've seen go horribly wrong that often founders do early, and then something that you were impressed by. Mario?
Right, and with the risk of repeating ourselves here, one of the biggest don'ts, I would say, is to have unrealistic expectations around how much productivity AI can bring to the team. So it's one of the technology that I see being pushed pop up to the developers, to the teams, and with the unrealistic expectations around how much productivity, how much faster we can get. And that's for don't expect hundreds of % of improvements, because realistically they rarely happen. On do's, it's probably around, especially if you into B2B SaaS space, to start selling before you have anything done. To start selling basically before you build anything, before you have anything done. Just go there, find customers, find prospects, because you'll be surprised by length of the sales cycle in a typical B2B SaaS product. So that's from me.
From my side, I think one of the most important do's that nobody talks about is take care of yourself. Your health is important, and your mental health also. And if it got impacted, it will influence everyone and everything. So you have to take care of yourself. And the one big don't is don't avoid difficult conversations from the start. Every difficult conversation that you will avoid now will become bigger and much more important later. So tackle them as fast as you can.
Thanks, Tal. I mean, there's a huge long list of do's and don'ts, but I will go for do speak to your customer. They're the people who are going to tell you what they need. It's not very easy to do, because you may not have any customers, but you need to try and speak to the people who you hope will become your customer as soon as you possibly can, ideally before you've built anything. And actually, that brings me quite neatly onto my don't, which is don't build too much. Less is definitely more. Get it in the hands of your customers. Start getting some feedback as soon as you can. Ideally, as Mario said, before building anything, sell first. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Chris. What a great sort of tips so far, aren't they? I'm just going to build on what everybody said on the don'ts and go down that theme. So don't overcomplicate the technology early on. Chris mentioned don't build too much. I think not overcomplicating it either is another key one. If you can keep the technology simple at the beginning, you've got plenty of time to make it more complicated later on. In terms of do's, I would say, and I mentioned this before actually, do tackle the hardest problem that you can find, or the obstacle that you know that exists. Tackle those first. It's a bit like having the hardest conversations early up front. Tackle the hardest things first, and everything else will become somewhat easier, or at least better known from then onwards.
Oh, that is amazing. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I really appreciate that. Now, we've had over 280,000 people that have joined us, but none of that would have happened without people like our amazing panelists here today. So perhaps, gentlemen, if you wouldn't mind posting your LinkedIn URL in the chat, maybe even a quick sentence about what you do, that would be great, so that in case people want to get in touch with you either now or after the session, they can. So if you don't mind doing that here, and also the others, if you're not a panelist, feel free to post your LinkedIn and a short sentence about yourself and where you're, especially where you're based. I think that could be helpful as well. These sessions are all recorded, as most of you know and can tell. Therefore, it's a good thing, because these things will be watched by people post-session. Now, we've got 44 minutes to go, where we're helping founders with whatever questions you may have in terms of building your early stage product and tech. And I've posted one question in the chat. I'll read it out loud in a second. And the idea is quite simple. We're here to help you with whatever you have in terms of building that early stage. So questions can be on anything from product roadmaps to design to prototypes to perhaps testing, QA, testing to maybe launching your MVP or an app or a website or whatever that may be. There literally are no wrong questions, and there's no need to be shy, because it's a learning curve for us all. If you want to ask us anything, just type your question in the chat here on Microsoft Teams. Once you've typed the question there, I'll then give you the mic and you can ask the team. For those of you that are on the live streams, please be aware that there's no point in trying to comment there or send me messages or whatever you're trying to do, because unfortunately we are unable to monitor your questions like that. So you'll have to join us here on Microsoft Teams. It's an audio only call, which means you can join from anywhere via any device or platform. All you have to do is either click on the links on those live streams, whether you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, or simply go to our website, startup2scaleup.club. You find today's session, which is very easy to just scroll down. It's Startup Product and Tech Q&A 163. You click join. It's a quick registration. That gets you a link to your email. And through that link, you can then join us here on Microsoft Teams. You've only got 32 minutes to go, by the way. So bear that, what am I saying? 42 minutes to go. So bear that in mind. And once you're here, like I said, you can simply type the question in the chat. But for now, we'll read a question that came from, Manchester. So I'm the more tech savvy of a finance app. So I'm assuming he means founder. I'm the more tech savvy founder of a finance app in Manchester that applies machine learning to analyze transaction patterns for potential fraud detection. Our Series A funding is focused on improving our ML capabilities, but our current pipeline is too slow, affecting our ability to detect fraud in real time. How can we structure our pipeline to ensure faster data processing and model updates? And are there specific ML ops tools that could automate the monitoring of model performance to minimize latency? Wow, that's quite a question. I have a feeling so far you've been winging it, and that is totally fine, because that's what founders and startups do. But to have already raised Series A and it sounds to me like you don't have somebody in house that is quite thorough and has got a good track record on what you're working on, may not be very helpful. My view would be to get a fractional advisor at least, but I would love to hear from our techies on the panel what their view is. Adam, did you say you worked on ML Or
I've
you've
worked
got
with a few
PhD
founders
or-
who've worked on ML. I don't have any hands-on experience working on ML platforms myself, but I have worked in data for many years,
You
decades.
have.
And
And
one of the things I
you-
would say is, sorry, go on.
No, go. I was just trying to find out whether it was you or Chris who said you've either got a PhD in ML or have recently worked in ML. But
Yeah, Chris.
since you've started, that's fine. Now you can. No, don't worry. You can go first, and then we can go to Chris, then Tal, then Mario, please. Maybe let's try and keep it about a minute each, gentlemen.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things I would say here is that there's two aspects to this. One of them is updating the model, and the other one is updating the data. And you mentioned both in the message there. And so I think one of the key things to understand is what is happening with your data pipeline. Is it designed to be incremental, or is there at some point at which it just encompasses the entire data block that you've got? Because that will only grow, and therefore that step or stages that uses the entire data set will only continue to slow down. So make sure that the entire thing is designed to be incremental. On the MLOps side, I will leave Chris to give much better advice. But what I would say is that exactly as Anton said, if you don't have somebody in-house already, this seems like it's going to be a core capability for your platform. So I'd either recruit or hire in experienced capability who's been there and done that, because there'll be a bunch of gotchas and traps that will be easily escapable for anybody who's seen this before, and will look like brand new terrain to those of us who haven't.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, I mean, first thing to say is I love this question. I love this use case. I think it's a really great example of where data science can really make a difference. To I suppose extend what Adam has said. So I guess there's in my mind anyway 3 things that we should be talking about. The first is, as Adam says, is data and data versioning. Then you've got your training pipeline and your production pipeline. I'm not sure at this moment which one it is that's causing you problems with performance, but you should be able to focus on all 3 of those. In terms of tools, I am a huge fan of a platform called DVC, which stands for Data Version Control, which does do data versioning, but it also does MLOps, so model versioning and model runs. There's also a really good platform called MLflow, which helps solve the same problem. What I really like about DVC is, as I say, it's open source. You could also go to more basic tools like Apache Airflow, but the starting point, depending on the maturity of your organization so far, your starting point is definitely going to be getting your data in a highly performant structure. So Spark is the go-to technology if you're not already using that. But there's an awful lot of stuff you can do to speed that up and add versioning to all of your models as well. I better stop talking because I'm over time.
No, that's okay. Thank you very much for that, Chris. Tal, and then Mario, please.
Not sure I have a lot to offer, a lot to add. I think what Adam said made a lot of sense. You have to have that expertise in your team, because that's the core of your product. In terms of the data itself, just look at the architecture. Maybe switch to something like a data flow, like Kafka or something that might speed things up, but it might be a big change. So I'm not sure. So that's my 2 cents.
Fair enough. And last but not least, Mario, please.
Okay, I'm not sure this question. I'm not sure who asked this. Probably founder who's kind of frustrated with the dev team inability to deliver what they want, because this kind of doesn't make sense, right? Because our current pipeline is too slow, affecting our ability to detect fraud in real time. But not really, because you're running your real time kind of queries against the model that you already trained and built, right? So that kind of 2 different things, right? And it might be that because there's a lot of new security issues, whatever, that got integrated in the model, that it takes time to train it, retrain it, and kind of release it as a production model. Then the queries against that model should be quick, right? It's like, for example, let's say you have image recognition model, right? And then what this founder is asking, we have a lot of new images coming every day. How do we integrate them? How we kind of improve those pipelines to integrate that new picture so our model can be more accurate, right? So I mean, I don't see what's the problem there. So and then it goes to second part of the question is that could automate monitoring of the model performance to minimize latency, right? So I think this is a little bit messed up of a question. So I'm not sure what the founder is really asking here, right? Because you're not integrating new data in the model in real time. You do it like separately, right? So you have new data that needs to go to model, you train the model, you release the model, then your queries go against that model, and then that shouldn't be fast. So I'm not sure what pipelines are not part of it. Pipelines are part of you having new data, and your pipelines kind of deploying this new data. There's a training process, whatever, deploying this new data into the model, and that model becomes something you query against, right? So I'm not sure, like, if I read it correctly, but I feel like there's a bit of disconnection here about real problem that they're facing. So before any kind of technology choices you can give them, we need to kind of probably clarify what's going on. That's at least my take on it.
Angle. No, that's a very interesting angle, and that's why I keep repeating myself. But it's always better if you're here to ask your questions rather than just sending my message. And I understand some people don't want to put themselves out there. Some genuinely haven't got the time because they've got something else clashing with their time our Q&As, and it could be a myriad of reasons. But if you're not here, you're probably less likely to get the right answer. But I'd love to hear, and I don't do this often, but I'd love to go back to maybe Chris and if Adam and even Tal want to add anything here. What's your take on Mario's point here? Maybe we can start with Chris and then the others.
Yeah, I can see where Mario's coming from. I mean, I guess the point is there's I guess as I alluded to in my answer, is your question pertaining to the speed and latency of your production model? So in flight, when you need to make a real-time judgment on fraud, or is it about?
That's how I understood it. That's how I understood it.
Yeah. So I think the answer to the question depends very highly on which of these it is. So if it's about your production code, then depending on the model you're using, you can think about compiling it directly into C++. And as I say, the solution to your problem really depends on exactly what that problem is. And as Mario says, it's not crystal clear from the question.
Indeed.
But he's mentioning pipelines, right? So pipelines shouldn't do nothing with querying data in real time, so that's a different thing. But he asking specifically here about how can we structure our pipeline to ensure faster data processing and model updates. I feel like that this dude wants to retrain the model on every new thing as he gets it, right?
Yeah, and that may well be the case, Mario. I have seen a case in cyber data, for example, where a new edge case or a new threat pattern is discovered and figured out. And then so creating an existing model to also handle a new edge case, a new scenario, and then to get that product live so that it's now working on new real-time data can be a challenge. And I think that speeding up that pipeline, let's say, for example, that is actually what the question is here. There is a challenge in productionizing the speed of getting a new model into production. And that may be part of the challenge that he's actually facing here.
I see. Thank you very much for that, gentlemen. Right, unless anyone else wants to chime in on this, maybe we can move on to our next question. This is a mobility tech, one of three co-founders based in Leicester. They're at seed stage, and he's got a transportation finance background. Oh God, whatever that means. So the problem is creating a platform for shared electric scooters in suburban areas. We're seeing slow adoption in suburban areas compared to urban centers. How can we adjust our product offering to meet the needs of suburban users who may have different transportation habits and preferences? Interesting. Maybe we can start with Tal, then we can go to Adam, then Mario, and then Chris. Gentlemen?
Sorry, I was muted. I would start with talking to people who are using it and people who are not using it, and to understand why exactly the adoption is low. Maybe try something like a pilot or something to test different features and give them opportunity to use the new features. Try to integrate with local transit or something that will give you the edge, and maybe have a trial, a free trial, and then help you with that.
Thanks. I would look at this one and I'd say, is this a case where we're trying to take a product and force it upon a market? Is there actually a product market fit here? Because there's an assumption in the question that there is, whereas it may be that there's something blocking it. Maybe there is a consideration that the scooters are too dangerous on suburban roads. Maybe that they are that it's not quick enough to meet the needs of the users. And so I like exactly as you said, go ask the users, go ask them what the problem is, but also ask them what the reasons for not using it is. Ask them what the blockers are, because it may well be that you can, with some questions and some interviews, figure out that there actually isn't a product market fit.
It's my turn now, right? Yeah. This kind of product questions, and we got a lot of those. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I have anything to offer here. And it's just to make a point around how we, a lot of those tech problems are basically product problems. And my theory here is that most product problems now are product problems, not tech problems. So maybe we need product Q&A,
All right, thank you very much for that, Mario. Last but not least, Chris, please, what's your view on this? What would you do?
Yeah, thank you. Well, definitely not my direct area of expertise, but I will give you my my thoughts. So the first thing to say, and it's probably a little bit lazy and obvious, is you need to speak to your potential customers. I think Adam has done a good job of setting out his thoughts on whether there really is a solution provided to those customers. But I say it's slightly lazy because it's pretty obvious in a way. There's a very famous quote attributed to Henry Ford, which is, if you ask people what they want, they would, in his case, designing cars, they would have said, "I want a faster horse," which actually is very applicable to your use case here. So what I would say is you need to test messaging. You need to test stuff with these people because they won't necessarily know the answer. So I don't know exactly how you're marketing. Maybe that's through PPC. Maybe that's through, I don't know, direct mail, or just having your transportation devices around. But I definitely think you need to find a way of rapidly testing different messages and see what sticks.
Indeed. Here's what I would do. I would simply go on a hypothesis and scrap the suburban areas. Focus on the urban centres. Just focus on that. If you think you've done well in Leicester city centre, then go and check on each bleeding street. Literally check on each street, get some leaflets, put it under every door that you can think of, take it street by street. I'll never forget, we used to join us often on the growth Q&A. There was a chap, one of the earliest salespeople at Just Eat, when it was just like a kind of little team in perhaps some dungeon somewhere. And I remember he explained how they initially started going to market. They literally picked 2 streets, one in, I think, either West End or maybe Kensington somewhere, and one somewhere in the city. And they went to each restaurant until pretty much the establishment either told them that they'll call the police on them or agreed to become a a vendor, i.e. join that platform. And guess what they had? They had a fee of £1,400 for restaurants or whatever, takeaway, whatever it was, to actually join them. But they solely focused on that. They went extremely niche, and only until they conquered that street, they moved on to the adjacent one, and so on and so on and so on. So maybe that's what you would need to do with your vehicles, or whatever you want to call them, these scooters. Basically, go onto the city centre, start tackling it street by street. And once you've done that, then you can move on to either the next city or either another city that you have good connections, or your team, and so on. Or maybe another city that is similar to Leicester, whatever that may be. I guarantee you that eventually, if you get enough people on those urban centres, you'll start seeing for yourself whether people are actually taking that bleed-in thing, maybe to either go to the suburbs, or then maybe you can actually email them and say, you know, would you find this useful if we moved it to the suburbs? And, you know, if people, because people, again, like Chris said, the famous expression by Ford that people would have asked for faster horses, instead of just leaving it there, just say, okay, if that's the case, would you be willing to pay an extra £2 for, I don't know, like a membership fee, so that you can use, only members can use this in the suburbs, and so on. So I wouldn't worry to try and go into the suburbs now. Master what you have, or get a confirmation that what you're doing is not good, but focus where you are, where you said you're doing well, in the city centres. Right, yeah, I think we can go on to another question. A quick reminder to everybody, this is Startup Product and Tech Q&A. It's our 163rd session. We've been doing these now for over 4 years, where we've had over 280,000 people that have tuned in. We've answered and helped over 3,000, sorry, not over, around 3,000 founder questions during these sessions. And obviously none of that would have happened without our panelists. So please feel free to show them your love and follow them on LinkedIn. They've all posted their LinkedIn URLs here in the chat, but they're also tagged on our LinkedIn live streams. Now, for those of you that are on the live streams, if you do have any questions in terms of getting your early stage product and tech right, you'll have to join us here on Microsoft Teams. It's an audio only call, sorry. And the quickest ways are either to go onto our website, startup2scaleup.club, find today's session, which is Startup Product and Tech Q&A 163. Click join. It's a quick registration. That will get you a link to your email. Then through that link, you can join us here. Whether you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, we are unable to monitor your questions there. So again, please come and join us here on Microsoft Teams. Once you're here, and if you do have any questions, then all you have to do is type your question in the chat. We'll give you the mic. You can ask the team, and that's pretty much it. If you do have questions on other matters, please save them for the other conversations we run. Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, Wednesday's growth, Thursday's fundraising, second Friday of each month it's UK startup law, and third Friday of each month it's UK startup finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and you can RSVP to any of them via our website, startup2scaleup.club, and you can actually, when you're on our website, you can even join our WhatsApp community. We've got some interesting groups of fellow founders, investors, techies, product people, obviously our panelists and mentors there as well, and all that jazz. And actually what I'm going to do is, before reading our next question, I'm going to post in the chat a link to our WhatsApp group for product and tech, where you can send questions ahead. You can also discuss the topics we touched on today, and also connect with each other, of course. So let's now go on to our next question. I'm the founder of a remote work platform in Birmingham that logs extensive user activity to inform productivity analytics. We're preparing for Series A, and our current storage solution can't keep up with the rapid data increase, affecting retrieval speeds and user experience. What would be the best way to manage and scale storage efficiently, especially if we plan to retain historical data for long-term analysis? Should we consider a tiered storage approach? And are there specific tools or services that make data archiving seamless without affecting our active data's performance? So maybe we can go on to Adam, Mario, Chris, and then Tal, please.
Sure, thank you. So yes, we're in my sphere of big experience here. This is data and how to use it. I think one of the key things to pull out of this question is that we are trying to optimize for multiple different things at the same time. So there's large volumes of data. We need to be able to access it rapidly, store it rapidly, and then also store it efficiently. And it seems from the question that there are different kinds of usage for the data at different stages. So historical data seems to have analysis. The current data seems to have high-speed storage and retrieval. And the data in between, it's not so clear. But the question about should we be using a tiered analysis? Absolutely. What you're getting towards is the boundaries of what's physically capable with data, storage, disks, spindles, and access patterns. And essentially trying to optimize all things for all places in one single solution, you're getting to the edge of what's actually possible with that. So a tiered approach is going to be right. But before you do that, I would start off and start thinking very, very clearly about what are the most important aspects of your data, and consider immediately you're going to split into 3 tiers. So what's really important about the old data? What's really important about the current data? And what's important about the data that falls somewhere in between? Do you need to split it any more than 3 tiers? Start off with those requirements, those questions first, and then start thinking about the ideal solution or set of solutions that apply to each of those tiers, because they're probably going to be different. I very much doubt that you'll find a magic tool out of the box that's going to meet all of your storage requirement needs, or if you do, you may be charged more than it's actually worth for it.
Thank you, Adam. Mario?
Okay, so this is another example of premature scaling, in my opinion. Okay, let's go through it. So remote work platform that logs extensive user activity, right? So I mean, and they're kind of pre-money, right? This pre-Series A company, right? So, and we probably don't know about the company name. Otherwise, if you know about company name, then I can understand this problem, right? But like billions of data points are not problem anymore with the techs and technology and tools that we have, right? So I don't think like founder need. I mean, I'm not sure where is this coming from, right? So okay, you need to log user activity, meaning mouse movements, this and that, to produce a report on how many hours, how much hours people work, how much time they were using their computers, and so on, right? So I mean, someone mentioned this data warehousing solution earlier in some previous questions that exists to handle trillions of data points, right? Those guys at Google and Facebooks of the world use, right? So although technology is available there, you can hook it up and ingest your data. Now the question of how to query that data, right? Again, there's a bunch of technologies there built specifically for that, and we can go into them, but maybe it's outside of the scope of this question. So what this founder is probably have problem with is that maybe their current team is not able to grasp the problem. But this problem has been solved a number of times on a number of companies, and solutions to these problems are basically available if you just look it up. I'm not saying they're trivial to implement, but they're available, and it's not something that thousands companies before didn't solve, right? So and there's no, I don't I kind of disagree with the fact there is no solution for this. There's specifically solution for any of those problems that founder mentioned, because all those big tech companies, they have that problem before, right? Google had also need to log user activity across billions of users, right? And then they came up with the open source stack that we can also use and build something similar. So what I think this founder might need is just a bit of, hand holding for the team, just to make sure that they shouldn't be afraid. Solution exists for what they need, and it's kind of well known, well documented technology solution. Would it be, I don't know, Apache Spark? Would it be BigQuery? Would it be this and that? To give them what they really need to have. And basically what they need to have is something that stores all that data, and then something to produce summary tables that they can query and show them on some sort of interface to see, okay, this, yesterday, this is how many users logged in, this is how many users worked for how many hours. So I mean, that fear that's coming out of this question, I don't think it's reasonable. Solution is there, just need to look it up, and maybe some sort of senior leadership just to get them to where they want to go.
Oh, I know it's hard because they're not here, and again, it's annoying. But you said that there is a solution and it's there. What would you do now? Obviously, from what I can tell, I might be wrong, but it doesn't sound to me that they're much techy in terms of how they do their stuff. So you say the solution is there. What is the solution then?
So what I think they're doing is they're putting everything in some sort of relational database, and they realize, oh my God, with 1,000 users, now it's super slow to retrieve, right? Which is kind of first thing which is kind of something that we all did. And you start with some very kind of simple solution, then you have more use and realize I'm now doing through that project with a company, and we use kind of MySQL for storage, and then we realize, oh, some reports are slow because now we have thousands users, and back in the day when we built it, we had hundreds, right? And then you start to realize, okay, we have BigQuery, then BigQuery can handle order of magnitude more data. Then you have, I don't know, all those Apache tooling around data ingestion that we can use, right? And then you have all like those time series database out there that you can use to query those data in a quick way. So they need to kind of, and this is normal kind of growing path for any company. Then you build something simple, then you hit limitations of then, and then a whole new world appears to you, and you realize, oh my God, this is technology for next level of growth. And I think that's what's happening to them right now, that you realize their current solution is not working, and they, should we consider tiered? Not that you should consider, you have to consider it, because what tiered means? Tiered means that you ingest data on one place, and that's where you ingest, and then you have, you've basically crunched the data and create some sort of, let's say, report table, different tier of data where you can show it based on what reports you're having, right? But I mean, going into those solutions specifically, I don't think it makes sense, like, because there's different kind of buzzwords they can look up. But what I'm trying to make a general point here that other companies might benefit from is it's just normal growing process of a company. You build something very simple, and you realize, okay, that something simple doesn't work for more users and more traction and more whatever that we have. And then you realize there's another kind of reality that you uncover, and then you hit that reality again, and then there's another reality, and then how you grow as a company. So this is all good and normal, I would say.
I see. All right. Thank you very much, Mario. I can't remember who we said, whether it was Chris or Tal, but either of you gentlemen.
I think it might have been me. I'm happy to try and take this on. Yeah, I think, as the guys have said already, there are lots of off-the-shelf tools that are designed to handle really massive scale data. I think the start question is, what are you using currently? And as Mario said, it's highly likely you're using a relational database. And that's not to say that relational databases can't handle significant volumes of data. They can if they're architected very well. But there are lots of other options that will definitely help you if you're finding that you've got problems there. There are probably some that are very easy to implement. you could, for example, migrate your database to. I'm a huge fan of Supabase. If you're absolutely wedded to a relational database, they have a really good implementation of Postgres, which is really easy to use. You can easily scale to different tiers using their platform. But really, if this is handling very, very high volume data from writes, from activity, you probably want to consider a different data structure altogether, probably a NoSQL database. Redis is highly, highly performant, but there are lots and lots of other solutions off the shelf, including BigQuery, Firebase, and so on. But yeah, I think there are an awful lot of options, and what you really need is somebody to think carefully about the architecture of your data for its different use cases.
Thank you, Chris. And last but not least, Tal, please.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. You know, you need to look into the data structure and make sure that's the right one. And in terms of tools, there are a lot of them, like Snowflake, and Amazon has some pretty good tools. So, yeah, nothing more to add. You know, what I said made a lot of sense.
Thank you very much, Tal. Right here, I think we've got time for one or maybe two more questions. We've got a question in the chat that is a bit more product than tech, although it's probably a mixture of both eventually. But just a reminder, if you're on the live streams, we are unable to monitor your questions live. So it doesn't matter whether you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, and it doesn't matter whether you're posting a comment there, sending me a message, or emailing us. I still can't see those, so you need to be here with us on Microsoft Teams. It's an audio call, which means if you're like me, you don't need to spend 2 hours in front of the mirror to get ready. And it also means you can join via any platform or device wherever you are. Quickest way to do that is go to our website, startup2scaleup.club. Find today's session, which is Startup Product and Tech Q&A 163. Click join, quick registration. That gets you a link to your email, and through that link you can join us here. Then type the question in the chat. We give you the mic, and you can ask any question related to early stage startup product and tech. Now, we'll read out the next question. This is from an education tech. So EduTech founder, sorry, they're based in Lincoln, pre-seed, and the founder is a former teacher. We're deciding whether to build a recommendation engine that personalizes content based on a child's learning progress, or to use existing algorithms from other educational platforms. What are the trade-offs in terms of user control of the content and how much data we need to collect about a child's progress to offer meaningful recommendations? Jesus, boy, this is definitely, or to me anyway, doesn't sound like something that can be sorted out of somebody just sending a question. You definitely need to be here and probably longer than a minute each. I guess this would be more kind of helicopter views rather than dwelling deep, but let's see what the chap's got to say, and then I'll see if I need to add anything. We can start with Chris, Tal, Mario, and then Adam, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I also like this question. So what I would suggest here is what you need to focus on is not so much the algorithm or the tool, but the data you're going to use. I think that's the key ingredient here. Now, in an ideal world, you would have been storing data about what different students use and where they get to on each one. If you have, great. If you haven't, start storing that immediately, because that is where the IP is here. That's where the value is. It's in the data of what people actually do. There's a very common problem with this kind of recommendation, or any AI machine learning problem called the cold start problem, which is how do you start doing anything smart once you don't, before you know any data at all. So I would definitely focus on that. What you're interested in is what are the correlations between different, I suppose, modules or I guess different bits of progress, whatever that might be. It's not exactly clear from your question. and storing that effectively. And once you have a significant amount of data, then you can use some pretty standard algorithms for recommendations. I would caution against using data from an existing platform, because I think it will be highly dependent on the content that you have. I'm way over time again, so I will shut up.
In terms of trade-offs, if you use your own recommendation engine, you have full control on the content and whatever is sent, and an external one is less. You can't really control it. But on the other hand, if you want to use your own recommendation engine, and the previous person said, you have to have a lot of data in. So that is the trade-off: your data, which is more accurate, or external data. So depends on the data that you have, the quality of the data that you have, and the data is super important. What I would maybe recommend is starting with an external one until you have enough data, and then move to your own recommendation engine.
I think that's the way to go about it, because when I really precede that, I see, no money, right? And I hear former teacher, that means non-technical, right? So, I mean, just assumptions here, but, we need to read from what we have, right? And, so whatever is out, they can get out of the box, they can use existing. You can tell them, okay, go use, AWS, how it's called, recommend engine, right? But that takes work to set it up. So, and there's other tooling kind of make this easier. So you kind of connect your data points, and then it makes it kind of do tech work for you. So, anything that. So I think for this founder, whatever is shortest to the market is the right choice, I would say.
Yeah, I like both of those answers. I think the idea that that the question is A or B as a sort of a black and white decision is kind of just covering over a little bit of what's actually going to happen, which is what's going to happen over time. So what do you need to start first? Quick start, totally recommend that. But then also, as you're using the the off-the-shelf platform, be careful about learning what is good, what is bad, what you would fix if you could, so that you can understand, if you were to build your own, what would be the attributes that it would have, what would be the benefit of it, and if you were to switch to another tool first, what would you want to learn from it as a part of that process? It may be that you can sort of see a future pipeline where you go through a couple of off-the-shelf processes before you have enough information, knowledge, and data collected to be able to build your own later on.
Thank you very much for that, gentlemen. We are now 3 minutes before we wrap up, so maybe rather than go through another question, perhaps it'd be good to get some parting words, and especially since this was our first session in the new season and we've all had a bit of a break during the summer, maybe we can try and focus those parting words on stuff that you've seen happening during the summer, and you'd like to have your input on such matters. So maybe we can start with let's start with Tal, then we go to Mario, then Chris, and then Adam, please. Okay, we've lost Tal, so maybe we can go Mario, Chris, and then Adam.
I mean, yeah, now it's kind of, when school starts, and then, also people are eager to start building again their products after summer break, right? There's lots of space in B2B SaaS, and I see most of my clients now coming from that space, and it's kind of heating up, and more non-technical founders entering the market, bringing domain knowledge to the mix, and trying to build simple solutions that save time, that bring productivity, a lot of opportunity there. And don't be afraid by technology. There's tooling for pretty much everything, and now we have shortage of problems, not shortage of solutions.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, what an opportunity. So I think we're right at the heart of a really exciting time when it comes to AI and really innovative technologies. Those already are leading to a productivity boom. This is a really exciting time. But I think, as ever with these exciting new technologies, the question is, where is the value? And that is still yet to become clear. So there's lots of stuff going on. The question is finding the real source of value. What I would say is, everybody out there who's building a startup, what a wonderful thing to do. Good for you. Keep going. And somebody said at the top of the hour, take care of yourself.
I think that's a really good tip, Chris. I think the one thing I would say summarizing from the questions we've had today, a lot of the questions have been, should I do step A or step B to produce an output? And I would say go one further. Focus on the outcome. What's the impact you want to have, and work backwards from there. It's often the best way to end up with the decision and the right question to get the decision you need.
Oh, well, thank you very much for your time and amazing input today, gentlemen. I really appreciate that. I guess a few things from me. Number one, a quick reminder for those of you on the live streams, please be aware that we are unable to monitor your questions live. So in the future sessions, please do join us here on Microsoft Teams. Instead, it's an audio only call, and you can RSVP or register and get your free ticket to any future session via our website, startuptoscaleup.club. When you go there, simply decide which session you want to register, click join. It's a quick registration, and then you'll get an email with a link to your inbox or spam initially, and then maybe you can save that, and then next time you'll get them onto your inbox. We run 6 regular sessions: Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, Wednesday's growth, Thursday's fundraising. Second Friday of each month is UK Startup Law, and third Friday of each month is UK Startup Finances. We would have liked to have had you here in the audio chat on Microsoft Teams instead, because it makes, one, for better conversations, and two, you're always more likely to get better answers here because we can have a back and forth. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow for Startup Growth Q&A. We've got some amazing sales, marketing, growth hackers, and all that jazz people joining us on the panel. But as far as my parting words are concerned, just remember, the startup journey can be both exciting but also quite challenging. So try to have some fun in the meantime, and be kind to yourself and everyone else for that matter too. Otherwise, again, have a great afternoon, and God bless you all. Bye-bye for now.